I found a fun video from family history fanatics listing 7 common genealogy mistakes. I've made every single one of these mistakes and developed some guidelines for avoiding them. In this video, I'll cover the 4th mistake, relying on other people's trees, and share my principles for how I make use of other trees on Ancestry.com, FamilySearch.org, etc. I group all genealogical sources into 3 types: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary source documents are created contemporaneously with a given event. Those are the records you really want to look for. Secondary source documents are detailed analyses written after the event, sometimes centuries after, and are based on explicitly cited primary source documents. Tertiary sources are summaries of family research without any supporting citations, or maybe just a few. Family trees on the web could be either secondary or tertiary sources, depending on whether they have citations. But you should handle them exactly the same way. 1. Don't cite other trees. Use them as roadmaps to do your own research. 2. When choosing a roadmap, look for ancestor profiles with unique contributions and high fact counts. 3. Be careful who you trust. A high-quality researcher may not have high-quality research throughout their tree. And 4. A DNA match doesn't prove your paper trail. First, the person who created whatever tree you found, they've got good intentions. They're not lying deliberately. They're not fabricating facts out of thin air. They want to get this right. But they're human, and that means they're going to make honest mistakes. One confusing record could have led them to jump to conclusions, and the end result is an erroneous tree. Point is, examine their research and use it as a roadmap. If they did it right, you can speed up your work substantially. And if they made a mistake, maybe you can catch it. Second, you'll probably find a bunch of profiles for your ancestor. Most of them will be nearly identical because people often just copy from other trees and move on. What I do is I pick one tree profile to use as a roadmap. I prefer profiles that have high source counts, assuming that those are all primary sources. If I see lots of Millennium File or American Genealogical Biographical Index records, I move on. But if I see the genealogist added scanned images of probate files or other primary source documents, that makes me feel I've got a really solid roadmap. Third, once you've dug into your family tree pretty deeply, you'll find other researchers who consistently land quality work. Michelle Fury and Dan Perry are my favorites from my mother's family, and I hope others have come to rely on my research into the Slow family in the 1700s and 1800s. The thing is, I know that my quality research only applies to specific people and lineages in my tree. Other parts of my tree, not so much. There's a lot of fact copying with little more than census records and find-a-grave sources. Point is, even when you trust the researcher, you should examine their work on each person in their tree. Final point, I see a lot of people claim that their written record-based genealogy is, quote, confirmed by DNA, end quote, when they get a DNA match to someone else with the same written record-based genealogy. But you could both have the exact same error in your trees. For example, I have this one family in my wife's tree that sprouted from a single guy in Jamestown, John Chew. Everybody has a record-based lineage that connects my wife's tree to John's youngest son, but the DNA matches before a particular generation, that's around 1800, were all to people descending from the eldest son, not the youngest son. Turns out the record-based lineage might be wrong, because in 1820, my wife's 5th great uncle, Joseph Chew, married a woman named Emily Chew, and the record-based lineage was completely dependent on the assumption that Emily's maiden name was not Chew at all. You could also have a false positive, whether it's via genetically isolated community sharing common indicators or just by chance. And let's get real, hanky-panky wasn't invented in the past 100 years. People have been sleeping around since before some human came up with the idea of marriage. DNA matches are not infallible evidence of a paper and pencil lineage. I hope you enjoyed this 5-minute genealogy video. Please subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments.